When I was 13, I transferred to a new school, and one of the biggest differences between this new school and my old school was a weird sort of card system they had in place. They had cards of all colors, some of them good and some of them bad. On the last Friday of every month, the teacher would walk by our desks with a stack of those cards. All the students holding their breath and hoping they get a good one this time. Once you received your card, you had to take it home and have one of your parents sign it. If you showed up on Monday to school and you still didn't have the card signed, they'd give you a detention every day after that until you got your parents to finally sign it. The blue cards were the best ones to get. They were given to the students that had gotten good grades and stayed out of trouble for the entire month. All the girls in my class would always get these, and for them it was no big deal. But when one of the guys got a blue card, we'd all treat him to sodas and congratulate him for his miraculous accomplishment. The worst cards to get were the yellow and red cards, and they worked just like they do in soccer. If you get in a fight with another student, or if the teachers catch you skipping class, you're getting a yellow card. If you get 2 yellow cards in the school year, that turns into a red card, and you're either suspended or expelled, depending on the severity of your school crimes. Sometimes kids would get automatic red cards, like the time that one kid was caught taking a shit in the bathroom sink as a joke. The card that was most commonly given out every month was the dreaded orange card. It was our school's version of a needs improvement, so you'd get it if you were failing any of your classes. The orange card was an attack on a parent's pride. It was a card that whenever you handed to your parents, it pretty much told them, "Your kid's an idiot, sign here." It was always horrible getting an orange card because for the rest of that weekend it'd be in the back of your mind haunting you. My mom would pick me up from school and I'd be trying to psych myself up the whole car ride home. Just get it over with. Just take that orange card out of your backpack, tell her you're stupid, and it'll all be over with. But then I'd see that my mom's in a good mood and she's telling me that she had a great talk with her sister and she found a new place that sells clothes for real cheap. And now there's no way I'm gonna be the one to burst her bubble. It was always the worst timing with those things too. Like we're all eating dinner and one of my brothers would tell my parents that he got the highest score on a test out of everyone in the class. And there I am wondering when I'm gonna show my parents my idiot card. I'd always wait until Sunday night right before I was gonna go to bed to tell them. And they'd get real disappointed with me and I'd feel like shit. The school also gave out green cards, which were given to students the month right after they'd gotten the orange card if they'd managed to bring their grades up in that time. Getting a green card wasn't that great though, since most parents would look at it and say, "So what you're telling me is you've gone from being at the bottom of the barrel with the orange card to being just plain mediocre with this green card." And then that would make us feel like shit too. Those orange cards were the bane of our existence, and no one hated getting orange cards more than my class bully. This kid didn't have any book smarts, but he did have some street smarts. And from the beginning of the year, he'd been buttering up the teachers and working on them so they wouldn't fail him in any of their classes. One of our teachers smoked, so the bully would go to the border of El Salvador and Guatemala, and he'd buy these ultra-rare chocolate-flavored Imperial cigarettes, and he'd give them to our teacher, and he'd get a free pass in his class. There was also a lonely female teacher that he'd always sit and have lunch with every day, and he'd laugh at all of her jokes and make her feel special, so now she was in his back pocket too. He'd give another teacher free passes to a strip club his uncle owned, and the list went on and on. I saw this guy go from getting 5 orange cards in the first month to 4 cards on the second month, then 3 cards, until eventually the only orange card he was getting was from foreign teacher. Foreign teacher had a tragic story, because he'd come to El Salvador on his honeymoon with his wife like 6 years ago, and the details were kind of fuzzy, but what we did know was that somehow during their honeymoon he ended up in the hospital gravely ill. No one knows if it was food poisoning or poisoning, but there was reason to suspect his newly wedded wife had something to do with it, because as soon as she saw foreign teacher on what she assumed was his deathbed, she took all his money, all his legal documents, and she skipped town, leaving foreign teacher in a third world country where he didn't speak the language and he didn't have a cent to his name. Somehow foreign teacher recovered, and when he came to, he realized he was going to have to start from scratch. So 5 years later, here he was, a born-again Christian and a teacher at our school. The class bully would show him the strip club passes, but foreign teacher was not interested. The bully would get him front row tickets for some religious concert coming into town, and foreign teacher would say, "I'll pray for you," and he'd just walk away. Every month, the bully would get an orange card from foreign teacher no matter what he did, and every month because of this, the bully's parents would refuse to buy him a motorcycle he'd been wanting since the school year started. They'd tell him, "As soon as you stop bringing an orange card every month, we'll buy you that bike." We were now in the last quarter of the school year, and it's the last Friday of that month. I'm sitting behind the bully in class, and he's just glaring at foreign teacher, shooting daggers at him with his eyes. I hear him tell me, "Hey Andy, guess what? and I ask him, what's up? I've been working extra hard in this motherfucker's class all month long. I never wanted to, but he left me no choice. If foreign teacher gives me an orange card today, you know what's gonna happen, don't you? I start to feel nervous for foreign teacher because I already know what the class bully's getting at. I tell him, you're gonna go on a hunt? And the bully says, I'm gonna go on a fucking hunt. And I never liked the bully all that much, but I start hoping he gets handed a fucking blue card for foreign teacher's sake. Foreign teacher walks to our row and he gives a girl in front of the bully a blue card. She grabs it and stuffs it under her desk, no big deal. And then foreign teacher stops next to the class bully. He licks his finger and he starts flipping through his colored cards. He pulls out an orange card and now I know this poor teacher is doomed. He hands it to the bully and he says, close but no cigar, better luck next time. Foreign teacher walks off and the bully says, Andy, what did I tell you? You told me you're gonna go on a hunt. I'm gonna go on a fucking hunt, you know I mean it, right? You're gonna go on a fucking hunt on foreign teacher. You know I don't go back on my word, right? I never back down from a hunt after I've said it. You're gonna go on a fucking hunt, that's what's gonna fucking happen. Foreign teacher tells us all to take out our books and he has no idea his world's gonna be turned upside down yet again just because of some orange piece of cardboard he just handed out. All the guys are gathered around the bully during recess and we're all trying to convince him to call off his hunt. We tell him that foreign teacher is just doing his job, that it's nothing personal. We tell him this poor guy's already had a series of bad breaks and this is only gonna make things worse for him. But he tells us he's gonna go on a hunt and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The weekend goes by and on that Monday the bully doesn't show up to school. We go into foreign teacher's class and foreign teacher's at his desk looking through some papers and we're all relieved he hasn't been harmed. We were worried for a second that maybe the bully was going to be waiting for him outside of school to beat the shit out of him. The class ends and as foreign teacher is dismissing us, the school principal pokes his head into the classroom and he's panting and out of breath. He says, foreign teacher, it's serious. Foreign teacher says, what's serious? What's going on? The principal says, it's your Landy. And as soon as we hear the word Landy, we realize that the class bully has done it. He's hit foreign teacher where it's gonna hurt him the most. The Landy the principal is referring to is a beat up old Land Rover foreign teacher had. It was the first thing he bought with money he'd scrounged up after getting out of the hospital and putting the pieces of his life back together. And that shitty Land Rover was his pride and joy. He'd go out to check on it every day during recess. It had a big bumper sticker on it that said, I heart my Landy. He'd always tell people that his Landy was the thing that saved him when he was at his lowest point. And from the principal's tone of voice, it sounds like foreign teacher's prized Landy has just fallen victim to the class bully's unstoppable hunt. Foreign teacher gets up from his desk and he says, the Landy? Is it okay? He looks at us and he says, class, you're dismissed. And he runs out of the classroom following the principal. We all run behind them to go outside the school and see what the hell just happened. We run outside and the first thing we hear is the foreign teacher's pained moans and the Land Rover is fucked up beyond belief. The windshield's been smashed to bits. The car's got spray paint all over it. All the tires are slashed. The exhaust pipe has a banana in it. And to add insult to injury, the I Heart My Landy sticker has been torn off the bumper and it's been cut into little shitty squares because the class bully was never that great at using scissors. Foreign teacher kneels next to his Landy and he's a broken shell of a man. He starts screaming out in agony and the principal tells us to get back into the school or he's gonna give us all detentions. As we're walking back in, we can hear foreign teacher saying, oh God, why me? And we all feel like shit. For the rest of the day, we're all still pretty fucked up over the class bully's most recent hunt. We wonder if we should tell foreign teacher that we know who did it, but at the same time, we don't want to be targeted by the class bully next. The school day ends and we all decide that tomorrow we're gonna send foreign teacher an anonymous note made out of magazine cutouts, kind of like a ransom note or something. It'll say the class bully did it, and hopefully he'll get some closure and none of us will be targeted afterwards. The next day, I walk into school and everyone's lined up at the basketball court. I go get in line and one of my classmates tells me the class bully fucked up real bad this time. The principal comes out to the podium and he tells us that what happened yesterday was a violation of an esteemed member of the faculty's private property. He tells us that foreign teacher has taken a leave of absence and he doesn't know when or if he'll be back. He also goes on to say that the culprit has been caught and he's been taken to a correctional facility, and then he dismisses us. We go back to class and my classmate tells me that yesterday when the class bully was in full-on hunt mode, there was a gardener nearby trimming the hedges of some other building. The gardener saw what he described as an adolescent of muscular build wailing on an old car with a crowbar, and he said the culprit was wearing a ski mask over his head and he was wearing our school's uniform. So what probably happened is the class bully's parents dropped him off at school, he waited around and stayed hidden until class started, took out his ski mask from his backpack, but for some reason he didn't bring another change of clothes so he wouldn't be seen wearing the fucking school uniform. Once the principal heard the gardener's eyewitness account, he went through the school's attendance records and he discovered that out of all the students in the school, on that fateful day, the class bully had been the only student that was absent. This was enough evidence to call his parents up and let him know what had happened, and his parents turned their son in to the police themselves, and now he's looking at multiple counts of felony and damage of property and other stuff like that. After the class bully went on his hunt, we didn't see him ever again, and foreign teacher came back to his teaching job the next year. By then, he was an even more born-again Christian than he was before, which was pretty annoying, but the cool thing was he bought himself a new Landy, an even older and shittier one, and he said he intended to pretty it up just like he'd done with his previous one. Now, I'm not a religious man by any means, and I don't know if there's a heaven or hell waiting for us when we go, but judging from the screams of agony I heard coming from foreign teacher on that day, I sure hope hell doesn't exist, because if it does, I know there's an extra bad spot reserved for the class bully for what he did that day, when his hunt crossed paths with one of the Lord's most faithful servants, the foreign teacher that just couldn't ever catch a break.